right, class, on to video number 2. So hopefully you made your list at the very end of the first video of the people in your life that fall into these categories, and how they influence your life and how much you value them from being either from a different gender or the same gender or from a different age group, a different generation, a different culture, or a different race than your own. And again, how much value they add to your life and their friendships. So always a good list to make. It's always good to make lists of things that are powerful in your life. So we're going to move on now to the different stages of relationships that we have in our life. Now, there are 5 of them total, so you see the first 3 in front of you right now. And we'll talk a little bit about what the different characteristics are of different types of relationships we have throughout our life. So the first one we call childhood friendships. And that's typically friendships that we establish or maintain between the ages of 3 to 15. And these are actually kind of momentary. A lot of times they're quick because think about the nature of 3, 5, 8-year-olds, preteens. You typically find somebody that you can spend time with. You sometimes very quickly become very intimate with them, meaning that you get to know a lot about them very quickly. A lot of times they are influenced by outside influences, meaning like the parents are friends. So the 3-year-olds are always in the playground, and there's typically not a lot of outside expectations that are set by you, at least at the very beginning kind of realm of this childhood age, like 3 to 10. So they happen quickly, and a lot of times they also end pretty quickly. You're friends with somebody all of 2nd grade, and then you move on. You don't see them in 3rd grade. It's over, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's momentary. It happened. It's over. You move on. You get into adolescent. And the reason why this overlaps just a little bit is because depending on how quick or how slow you mature, your friendships will also mature. So adolescent kind of overlaps a little bit with childhood. It ranges from ages 10 to 19. And the characteristics of this one is that you typically value the time a little more that you spend with somebody. You typically become a little bit more other oriented during these ages because you just establish friendships with people that you really want to know how they're feeling, how they can help influence decisions that you make in your life. You value their opinion. You want to spend time with them. Another key characteristic for adolescent friendships is this is typically when you have the most amount of friends in your life, which is actually very interesting. It's not like that for every single person, but studies have shown that during the ages of 10 to 19, you have the most amount of friends in your life. Now, you don't necessarily have the most amount of friends that are at the core of your self-disclosure that know you the best, but you have the most amount of friends. Then you move on to young adult, which is ages 18 to 30. These are typically friends that you will find as your life begins to change. You start to pick up friends from varying degrees of things that are happening in your life versus adolescent, where those are kind of already set for you. So the school you go to, the church you go to, the community center you go to, whatever hobbies you have, whatever sports you play, team sports, those are your friend groups, right? Because those are the influences you have. As you have more broadened life experiences as a young adult, you go off to college, you go off to a trade school, you go into the military, you go off into the workforce, you rent a house in a different part of the town that you grew up in. All of these things start to happen during those kind of 12-ish years of your life. And so your friend group, your circles of friendships actually broaden pretty widely from outside influences, from that job you got, from that school you went to, those types of things. You typically seek out friends that will go through life changes with you. So you typically have friendships that will start and develop in the young adult time frame, 18 to 30, and those friends will a lot of times carry you through some of your biggest life changes and end up being friends with you for a long time. Childhood, you have those momentary friends that come and go. We find that young adults ages is when you typically have those friendships that will stick around for a while because they go through the most amount of life changes with you. Your adult friendships range anywhere from 30 to 60 years old, and these are typically the most valued friends you have in your life. These are the ones that are going to know you to your core. The most intimate level of friends, they're going to know the most about you.
We talked about breadth versus depth a couple weeks ago. These are people that are going to know you in that depth area, right? They're going to know the things about you that you feel very important about, the things that you are influenced the deepest by, things that make you happy, things that make you sad, those types of things. They typically offer a lot of emotional support in friendships that range in this age, and they typically are going to be the most varied type of friends that you're going to find. You start to establish those varied type of friendships in your young adult category because you start getting friends from work and friends from a new apartment building you're in and friends from a new soccer league that you joined and whatever it may be. They continue to grow into the adult time frame in your 30s to 60s because you still have the different workplaces, right? You leave a job and go to a new job. You have the friends from your old job plus friends from your new job. So those type of varied friendships start to get deeper and wider. And then your last section of your life, in their late adulthood friendships, these are typically the smallest group of friends that you have, and it's for two reasons. One, because you're getting later in life and obviously people are going to be leaving this life, so your friend group is going to get smaller. But it also you become kind of hyper focused on that core group of friends, your most valued network, and those are the people that are going to last to the end of your life. So those people that stuck in from young adulthood, you could definitely take you all the way through the end of your life in late adulthood. So the people that kind of resonate with you the most in your life are going to be there in the 60 plus age group. So it's going to be the smallest you've ever had, but it's going to be kind of the core of your life friendships. So those are the different age groups that go into your friendships. So we will talk more about friendships in the discussion board this week. The discussion board is actually going to be twofold, but you will see one of the questions in there is going to be about friendships. So this will be the last time you see about friendships, but a lot of interesting things to think about if you kind of take a focus in on the different types of friendships you have in your life and what stage you are personally with your age, right? Where are you as far as these two age groups are concerned, or these two slides are concerned with the 5 age groups, where you fall and some characteristics that go into those types of friendships. We are going to move on now to romantic relationships. So I want to start romantic relationships with a 3-dimensional theory that it's actually a psychology theory by Robert Sternberg, and it explains romantic relationships, but then we will actually use this when we talk about how we communicate in relationships. So psychology theory, but it applies to interpersonal relationships. So Sternberg said that a loving relationship has 3 dimensions: intimacy, commitment, and passion. And a lack of one of these does not constitute a loving relationship. You must have intimacy, passion, and commitment. And then the theory further says that when you lack one of these, you will have something. There will be an element to a relationship, but it won't be a true loving relationship. So they say that if you have intimacy, which is kind of that like the liking love that you have with somebody, and you have commitment, he calls that a compassionate relationship. But it's not a loving relationship. It's a compassionate relationship. If you have commitment and passion, the bottom 2 in front of you, then you have fatuous love, which is kind of that silly love, I think is a really good synonym for fatuous. So that is the combination of commitment, which is in a way empty love. I think actually that's the term that this theory uses to define commitment. And it doesn't mean empty because it's void of something. It means that commitment needs to have something with it to make a relationship work. Just sticking in something because you signed on a piece of paper isn't going to produce the most loving relationship, is what he's trying to say there. So commitment plus passion is that kind of silly, fatuous love. Then we've got passion, which is the infatuation type characteristic, and intimacy. If you have those two, passion plus intimacy, you have a romantic relationship. But you might not have a compassionate relationship, or you definitely don't have a loving relationship.
And again, this is the theory. This is what Sternberg has done his research in and published, saying that a romantic relationship must include all three. If it includes any combination of what I just gave you, intimacy plus commitment, or commitment plus passion, or passion plus intimacy, but it's missing that third one, then you have those different types of relationships, either a compassionate, a fatuous, or romantic. But to have a true loving relationship, you need all three. So kind of interesting. Think about when you think about the different types of characteristics that go into what needs to be there for a solid relationship. So let's talk about the different types of love that we have in our lives, and how it relates to interpersonal relationships. So we have eros love, which is sexual love that is based on some sort of physical idea of beauty or pleasure. And this is, by definition, or as an example of this definition, is basically seeing a romantic partner as beautiful or handsome. That is eros here. That is the type of love that is happening when you say that you find someone pretty or you find someone beautiful. Ludus is a kind of love that is based on the enjoyment of someone else. They call it game playing love, which basically means you're kind of playing along for the situation that is at hand. I think the book uses, I'm hoping it's this book so it connects with your reading, but I think the book uses an example, a real life example of this as like a high school dance. So it's kind of playing along to get along in the kind of situation that you find yourself in. Storge love is a solid love that is typically founded in some sort of friendship or some sort of deeper level of trust. Typically family is where you find this type of love. This is like a friendship that develops, or a romantic relationship that develops from a friendship over typically a long period of time. Think about like I said, a friendship that kind of grows and is founded in a kind of sort of solid, loving relationship. Mania is a relationship that is rooted in obsession that typically is derived by mutual needs of that obsession. Think about relationships that have extremely high highs and extremely low lows. Those are typically mania relationships. I feel like mania relationships are really easy to spot on Facebook. When you can see that kind of like, oh my gosh, this person is the best, 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 best. And then it's, oh my gosh, this person is the worst, 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 worst. Like those are the main points that you see in those, like the high highs and the low lows are typically obsessive love. Pragma love is practical love that is based on practical mutual needs and benefits of each partner. This is typically described as like kind of like the right fit. This person is the right fit for me. This is what I've been looking for. I've been looking for somebody to satisfy these needs, have a mutual understanding on my attitudes, values, and beliefs. We benefit each other. We complement each other. Those are those types of relationships. Next, we've got the selfless love, which is based on giving yourself up for others. This is the type of love where you do something with no expectation of return on that type of love. So you do something with absolutely zero expectation that somebody will do something back for you. And then the last one is commitment, and that is the intention to remain in a relationship. So intent is set by you and you alone, just like expectations are set by you and you alone. The intent is there that you will remain in a relationship solely based on your word, based on your commitment for something. And again, that is in the theory that we just talked about, the Sternberg theory, that he says commitment alone is not enough. There needs to be, some sort of element of intimacy and passion that goes with commitment. But just standalone type of love is the intention to remain in a relationship solely based on the commitment that you made.